depraved every day. Now, the latest display, the Young Turks contributor, Hasan Piker, going on this vulgar rant, mocking a wounded war vet for losing his eye fighting for our freedom in Afghanistan.
Hasan Piker has to be one of the most interesting online influencers I've ever come across. The more I look into him, the more confused I get.
Champagne socialist streamer Hasan Piker
says he was detained at a U.S. airport for hours this weekend and questioned by U.S. Customs and Border Protection about his political beliefs, specifically on Gaza and President Trump.
So I looked into this story. It turns out that Hasan Piker is a liar.
A Homeland Security official acknowledged the incident, telling us, quote, "This is nothing but lying for likes."
I honestly can't tell if he's an absolute genius who figured out how to build a following through emotions, or if he is just someone who's simply part of the outrage mob, but got a platform because of his natural charisma and wealth. On one hand, he speaks with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what he is doing and saying, completely self-aware of the lies and deceit. But on the other, his worldview is so reactionary and shallow that I honestly can't tell if it's intentional strategy or self-deception. Maybe it's somehow both at the same time. This tension is exactly what fascinates me about him, and this is why I am making this video. Because whether it's intentional manipulation or not, the result is the same. A massive online following built almost entirely on outrage, certainty, and a total rejection of nuance. An audience that, in my eyes, actually needs help. It is pretty clear that we live in a day where people are naturally drawn to confirmation bias. People just want to hear what confirms their beliefs at the expense of seeking truth. They want to hear from other people who carry the same hatred and perceived injustice on this world. And they want to hear someone who has solutions, sometimes not caring how extreme the solutions can be. And I believe this is what makes Hasan Piker so effective for a lot of people. He taps into something very real people face, especially those with very strong victim mentalities. There is so much frustration, anger, and a need for clarity in this world for so many people, especially young people. But sadly, instead of his audience finding someone who guides them towards understanding, or even toward a desire to seek truth and healing, Hasan leads them toward a weird certainty on what they already believe, that they are justified to hate the world. Instead of encouraging thought, he rewards reaction. And this is so much easier for a lot of people to digest. Most people don't like to be told that they are wrong, but we all need to know that we can be wrong at times in our lives. We need to always try to kill the pride that is in us, and we need to stay teachable. And if we only surround ourselves with people that confirm what we already believe, hate what we already hate, and ostracize those who threaten to bring nuance or perspective into our lives, we are doing a major disservice to ourselves and those around us. Why? Because if we're not teachable, we stay stuck in life. No one knows everything, and if we believe we can't be wrong, then we have already failed in life. People respect those who can listen, reflect, and change when it matters. No one respects a leader who doesn't own his mistakes. So what happens when a creator builds their platform not on truth, but on tribal loyalty? Not on critical thinking, but emotional alignment? When the goal isn't actually to inform, but to affirm views, to constantly reinforce or grossly exaggerate what the audience already believes, already feels, and already wants to be true. Someone who so confidently lies because they know their audience won't try to seek the truth or hold them accountable to what they say. And also, I know this might sound naive, but I actually feel sorry for people who build an audience the way that Hasan has. Because what if, at some point, he wants to bring a level of nuance? What if he finally sees how much damage he has done? How he's helped push young, vulnerable people toward political extremism? What if he wants to change? I don't think he has any room to change and keep his platform at the same time. And I think he knows this, because if he tries to pivot, if he tries to speak with real complexity, the very audience he built will turn on him. He's trapped in the world he created. The system Hasan has built demands absolute consistency, and I believe that the system will eventually start devouring itself and the person who built it. Not just Hasan Piker, but what he represents. The influencer who becomes the prisoner of his own audience.
Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize back their own homes from the settlers.
So for those who don't know who Hasan Piker is, let me introduce him quickly. Hasan started out as a contributor for the Young Turks, a progressive news outlet known for its left-wing slant and confrontational style. He quickly became a recognizable face, but not really due to deep policy insight, but because he was young, confident, and knew how to speak in a way that grabbed the attention of other young people. Eventually, he moved to Twitch, and that's where everything took off for him. Funny enough, he wasn't really offering detailed analysis or long-form breakdowns of politics. He was just reacting to news in real time, getting angry, making jokes, and keeping his audience emotionally engaged, all under the premise of being some self-proclaimed journalist, or should I say a self-proclaimed propagandist.
As far as me being a propagandist goes, everyone is a propagandist. I'm just honest about it.
A big part of his appeal was aesthetic. He looked the part, he sounded like the people watching him, and he said what they were already feeling. He came across as a relatable left-wing alternative to the mainstream, someone who wasn't bought or wasn't boring or wasn't even afraid to be blunt. So his following grew fast, a mix of progressives, socialists, and disillusioned young people. Not necessarily people looking for depth, but people looking for someone who gets it. Someone who sounds like their side is finally winning. But once you understand how Hasan rose to prominence, it becomes clear why he was so effective, and it has very little to do with ideas. Hasan doesn't win arguments, he wins reactions.
Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
His entire approach is built on emotional manipulation, outrage, sarcasm, mockery, and tribal language.
You stupid f***! There's a reason why he's not on the platform!
Hasan, thank you for being angry so I don't have to be all the time.
He doesn't engage in thoughtful disagreement. He frames issues in a way that makes his audience feel like they're right without ever needing to prove it.
Do you think that is a misfire from a rocket? Because I've shown you the misfires from Hamas rockets. It does not look like that.
Throughout the years, it has been clear that anger has been his primary tool.
Apartheid defending, bloodthirsty, genocidal freak. Please stop. You're not making any good arguments. No, the only reason why I'm not making any good arguments to you is because you are transphobic, and that's the unfortunate reality, and it's probably not going to change.
Never reason or logic, not even evidence.
Or they're literally breaking records after records, not just participating. Wrong. You are wrong. You are making that up. You have read like 3 articles from like 3 random edge cases. You are wrong.
Just anger, loud, confident, and pretty constant.
My issue as a trans person is the fact that you, a guy that isn't super well versed on trans, brought on a known transphobe knowing he might bring up transphobic shit. You aren't exactly a Vosh at trans debates. I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day. Okay? There you go. Suck my dick. I despise you. I despise you more than anything else on the planet. You are fucking cancer, okay? You are cancer in this community, and you're cancer in every community. Suck my dick. For the past 15 months, you've been able to fucking hide in these ranks. You catboy fuck. Move your catboy ass out of here. You are never welcome. You are never going to be unbanned. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how much you want to get unbanned, I will never unban you. You are now banished into the fucking shadow realm.
Take his infamous quote.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
That wasn't some bold, nuanced critique of US foreign policy. It was just a blunt provocation designed to shock, offend, and stir up the exact kind of emotional response that fuels his brand. Or even his calls to kill your landlords.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them! Kill those motherfuckers!
Obviously exaggerated, but again, that's the point. This is why his content works so well in the algorithm. Emotion is so contagious. It spreads faster than facts. It's easier to process than complexity or humility. It gives people a sense of moral superiority without ever requiring them to wrestle with uncomfortable truths or competing perspectives. It is really good to feel like you're on the right side, and feeding that together with a like-minded crowd, that's something else. That's the power of emotional manipulation, and Hasan uses it constantly, and I find it impressive how people are so blind to it, especially his own audience. This emotional framing goes hand in hand with another major pattern in Hasan Piker's content, the constant oversimplification of complex issues. Almost everything he covers is reduced to a binary. There's always a clear victim and a clear oppressor. One side is entirely right and the other is entirely wrong. There's no middle ground. And of course, no nuance. No room for difficult questions or moral complexity. In fact, you're not really supposed to ask questions because it threatens the shallow foundations the system is built on. One of the clearest and, for me, most disturbing examples of this was Hasan's response to the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israeli civilians. There were confirmed reports of rape and horrific brutal assaults during the massacre. And instead of acknowledging that with any kind of clarity or condemnation, Hasan said that it doesn't matter if rape happened.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
If you don't see this as problematic, you are part of the problem. Both Israel and Hamas are committing atrocities that are morally unacceptable in any shape or form. And if you can't acknowledge that, you need to take a back step and adjust your value of human life. Hasan's and his audience's perspective on this has been morally indefensible. But the reason he said it is clear. Condemning Hamas's acts would have disrupted the binary. It would have forced his audience to deal with the uncomfortable truth that atrocities can happen on both sides of a conflict. And that kind of complexity breaks the emotional narrative he's built on his platform. This is the danger of turning everything into a black and white moral story. You stop looking for the truth, and you stop thinking critically. And you start defending whatever fits the narrative, even if it means turning a blind eye to violence, abuse, or injustice. He calls his platform political commentary. It's not. It's pure indoctrination. When you have an audience, especially one made up of young, impressionable, and often disillusioned people, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to constantly try to seek the truth together, to try to stay open, and to try to be teachable. If you build your influence on moral certainty without humility, you're leading people toward a trap, and the ones who follow you will suffer for it. When emotion replaces thinking, and complex ideas get reduced to black and white morality, the natural result is tribalism, and Hasan has mastered it. Nearly every debate he engages in is framed as us versus them. There's always an enemy. Conservatives, liberals, landlords, centrists, radlibs, bootlickers, incels, you name it. And if you disagree with him, even slightly, you're not just wrong. You're morally corrupt and you get placed in one of these categories. This kind of language is actually quite clever because it dehumanizes the opposition. A system built on feelings has no room for sympathy or shame. So, if you convince your following that the enemy is completely morally bankrupt and out to get them, you remove any sense of humanity. Hasan has built more than a community, he has built an identity. If you watch him, then you're on his team, you're part of his tribe, and that means loyalty always comes before truth. One aspect that has fascinated me so much about Hasan's following is how they eagerly dismiss the blatant hypocrisy right in front of them. Hasan Piker is a self-proclaimed revolutionary, a man who preaches anti-capitalism and presents himself as a voice for the working class. He regularly speaks out against billionaires, landlords, corporations, and the systems that uphold inequality, or supposed inequality. But this is not coming from a place of substance, and it's certainly not coming from someone who actually rejects the values of capitalism. Because Hasan is a perfect example of someone who benefits massively from the very system he claims to oppose. If I tell you I'm a vegan, but you catch me eating steak maybe 2 or 3 times a week, at some point, you're gonna stop taking me seriously. That's Hasan. He constantly rails against capitalism while living in a $3 million mansion in Los Angeles. He streams on Twitch, a platform owned by Amazon, one of the very corporations he claims to hate. He makes money through ad revenue, YouTube content, merch, and brand sponsorships. By every measure, he is a successful capitalist content creator. And somehow his audience is constantly defending it. One reason being because he donates to charity. As if this erases the contradiction. But what's really happening is this. He is playing with your emotions. He's making you feel good about what he is doing with his money. And he uses this to distract you from the fact that he is a capitalist preaching communism. You can't make this up. He critiques consumerism, but participates in influencer culture. He critiques power, but he lives in luxury. And when confronted on it, his personal justifications are always the same, that it's fine to exist in the system you are trying to change. But he is not just existing in the system. He is well above the 1% of the population of the world who is benefiting from the system. I was thinking of coming up with some kind of funny analogy around this, but being a champagne communist in itself is so ridiculously in-your-face hypocritical that I don't even need one. Now, the problem with this is not that he's just financially successful, it's the fact that his entire brand is built on the illusion of being something he clearly isn't. This alone really should make anyone question, is he actually a revolutionary? Or is he just some rich content creator who figured out how to monetize left-wing talking points and how to monetize people's emotions? The more that Hasan tries to present himself as morally above the system he's profiting from, the more obvious it becomes that the entire brand is built on a performance. And if anything, I really hope his young viewers lose the rose-tinted glasses and realize how blatantly fake Hasan's views are, especially if he isn't practicing what he is preaching. I really want you guys to know that this whole video is not here to attack Hasan or his character, but this is to try to educate anyone who watches him that it is important to constantly desire to seek truth and to know that you and your heroes could be wrong. I know I could be wrong every day, and that's why I approach everything with critical thinking and my own analysis. And this is why I also choose to live my life accountably to wise men around me. And thinking this way has personally also led me to Christ and Christianity. And this is why I believe it is important in life to approach everything critically. So this brings us back to the core of it all, what I am actually calling the Hasan Piker Effect. Like I said before, when you build your entire audience on outrage and ideological purity, you eventually lose the ability to think freely. Hasan can't change his mind. He can't explore nuance. He can't question his own side because his audience doesn't fully follow him. They follow a version of him that fits their expectations. This is the trap that Hasan has unfortunately found himself in. There have been moments where even his own community turned on him, not because he betrayed some principle, but because he showed the slightest deviation from their approved narrative. Whether it was being a little too soft on a centrist guest, not going far enough in his criticism of Israel, or showing any hint of uncertainty. But in these moments, Hasan resorts to what he knows works: emotional outrage.
No, you dumb fucks. The entire point is humanizing these people. That's the whole point. Can all of you just collectively shut your stupid woke mouths up?
I don't think this will work forever, but I guess we'll see. The irony here is brutal. Hasan has spent years building an audience by playing into moral absolutism and emotional certainty. But now a lot of his audience are even more radical than he is. He created a space that encourages and welcomes ideological purity. And now he has to perform every day. He's not a journalist. He's an actor with a stage. A clear and pretty hilarious example of this is he knows his audience hates Asmongold. So what does he do every single day? He talks about Asmongold.
I've never actually heard Charlie say, actually, the AFD is not a neo-Nazi party, but even if it was, that's kind of good.
Do you guys remember when I said that? I forgot.
We should make sure that migrants coming out of lower, inferior cultures don't actually tarnish the blood pool of the Fourth Reich. He has consistently defended Israel, attacked Israel.
When did I defend Israel? What did I defend Israel with?
But also simultaneously loves Nick Fuentes and
I do.
Regularly will hype up Nick Fuentes. You figure Asmongold is anti-Semitic on purpose or just ignorant and apathetic? Could be either.
Why would I be anti-Semitic? I thought just a minute ago I was defending Israel.
He also doesn't whine all the time. Don't tell me what Asmon is saying. What the does he know?
What's happening here is bigger than one creator, because this is what happens to anyone who builds a community on ideological purity and emotional outrage. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, or somewhere in between, the outcome is always the same. Yes, you can easily foster huge communities through confirmation bias, but I believe outrage communities will eat their own. At first, I'm pretty sure it feels powerful, there's unity, momentum, and moral clarity, but over time the standards tighten, the purity tests multiply, and the second someone, even the leader, steps slightly out of the line, the mob turns inward. Nuance has never been more important, and with that, Honest, healthy disagreement has never mattered more, but people are afraid to think out loud because people are terrified of rejection. Thinking out loud means taking risks. It means being vulnerable, being wrong, being misunderstood. And inside outrage culture, there is no space for that. What's left is a community that doesn't grow. It just reacts. It polices itself, silences dissent, and hardens into something more like a cult than a conversation. The best example of this is the platform Reddit. We live in a digital ecosystem that thrives on outrage, not thought, reason, or even honesty, but the speed and sharpness of emotional reaction. How quickly can I hate, attack, or destroy someone's life who I disagree with? The more dramatic you are, the more engagement you will get. The more tribal, the more viral. And that's how we've ended up here, in a landscape where loyalty is valued over truth, and where the people who rise to the top are often the ones willing to say the most extreme things the fastest. Hasan isn't an outlier, he's the natural product of the system, but now he's also the prisoner of it. A prisoner of the persona he built and the ideological purity he helped normalize. If your community can't tolerate nuance, it's not a community, it is a cult. This has been a very interesting video for me to do. While scripting this, I had to delete quite a lot because I don't want to come across as attacking Hasan's character. He doesn't help himself. I did try to watch his videos and enjoy them from his perspective, but it has been very difficult because he rejects seeking truth. And for me, that is a very dangerous value to uphold. If you've come across this video and you actually are a huge fan of Hasan's, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to demonize you. I'm just trying to help you think for yourself. Think critically about what you are hearing and what people are saying to you. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in my Patreon, please do check it down in the link below. Also, I've been going live on Twitch almost daily now, so please feel free to check that out. And yeah, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Also, I'm so sorry about the loud rain. I live in a small place and I am currently in the attic.